different project in NSAF, Kisan 2, IPMIL, and also jointly by the Grain Legume Research Program, Khajura Bake. And we are planning to conduct the today webinar for the 2 hours, and if the interaction will go, it might proceed, extend 20 minutes more. And there will be about 5 resource person and making the presentation on different topic. And also we have the 3 international expert for the today webinar. And one is from the Bangladesh, and 2 is from Dr. Muni, and Dr. Anamika is from the USA, and one Bangladesh, Dr. Moin Salam, he's also one of the expert and very renowned in the lentil. And also we have one scientist from Grain Legume Research Program, Bake, Khajura, and he's Lakshman Aryal. He's actually the plant pathologist, and he has a very long experience on the different disease and disease on different crops. And once the presentation technical session will be over, we will also come up with the interaction session if there is any question or any queries for the speaker. And also, I would kindly request you all to, if you have any question, please use the chat box, because we are very limiting with the time. And at the last, if the time permits, we'll also come up with the interaction session as well. And also, I think there will be one short 2 minutes poll question as well. For that, our colleague, Dr. Rakesh Kothari will be helping us, and request you all to participate in that poll question as well. And before beginning our session, I would like to introduce the today key participants. And today we have the key participants from different province, and different province, and mostly the plant protection experts, and also the project USAID Feed the Future Nepal project from the Kisan 2 NSAF project, also the IPMIL program, and also the field level team as well for the today. And before starting the technical session, we have also the provincial level secretary, and also the ministry level, our senior level officials. And before that, I think I would also, we have the our country director, Dr. Kori O'Hara, and he's also with us. And we'd like to request Dr. Kori O'Hara to have the welcome remarks for this webinar. Dr. Kori sir, may I request to have your welcome remarks for this webinar?
Great, thank you, Laliji, and thanks for introducing the webinar in general, and for all of your hard work in putting this together. I think I'll start just with a simple observation. My own background is in nutrition, and lentils are a critical part of the diet, not only in Nepal, but also in many other countries. Lentils and rice together, as I think many people know, together form a complete protein. They provide together all of the essential amino acids that our bodies need to thrive, to build muscle, to survive, really. And yet lentils are one of these crops that we don't talk about very much in international development. There's a lot of focus on vegetables, because high-value vegetable crops can be a good source of income, for example. There's a lot of talk on staple cereal grains, for example, because that provides the majority of the calories for most people. And yet lentils are an essential, a critical part for preventing malnutrition globally. And so I'm really pleased, really pleased to see that this webinar is happening today, so that we can improve, to whatever extent possible, share information, share knowledge, and improve lentil cultivation within Nepal and also internationally. So with that, I'll just thank a few folks. Just want to acknowledge the organizers and hosts, particularly PQPMC, at the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, who have been so essential to all of this, all of these webinars that we've been hosting since the beginning of the COVID-19 period. I also want to acknowledge, of course, the IPM Innovation Lab and Virginia Tech, who leads that, who's really been pushing for a very useful and interesting agenda for these webinars. Also for the Nepal Seed and Fertilizer Project, who have been participating in Kisan 2, and of course Feed the Future Nepal IPM, a project underneath the Virginia Tech IPM Innovation Lab being led here in Nepal by IDE Nepal. So thanks to all of these different organizations and all of the participants, I'd like to specifically also acknowledge our speakers today. I see you have their images in front of you, so I'll just say thanks to all of you for coming to participate. In the interest of keeping things short, I'll just move ahead and say, really, I'd like to express our appreciation and say welcome to all of those many people on this call. And now, given the short time that I know that we have, I'd like to ask Lalitji, please take it away.
Thank you, Kori sir, for the welcome remarks. And I think before proceeding our technical session, our colleague from ICT, may I request our colleague Dr. Rakesh Kothari to have the poll question. And today, actually, I have already mentioned about the today's speaker. And furthermore, later on, before the presentation of the technical session, I will proceed for the detail on the specific respective our speakers. And also, I think I'll request before the technical session, may I request our colleague Dr. Rakesh Kothari to have the poll question for that, and I'll request you all to join that poll question as well. I see 104 people in this webinar currently, and request you all to have your kind participation on this. Just this is one question, just to let us know about from which organization you are belonging from and what is your profession. Maybe I'll request you all on joining this poll question.
Lalit?
Yeah. I think we are already finished the poll question, and the results will proceed later on. And I think before that, I would request and hand over this webinar technical session for the facilitation. Dr. Muni is with us, and Dr. Muni,
Yes.
over to you. Thank you. I am closing this screen session. Here is, yeah.
Could you please close the screen so that I can?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not.
Is it okay, Dr. Muni?
I'm trying to get this full screen. Oh, okay. I'll share my screen now. Which one is mine?
Well, Muni, it's well, great.
No. I'm trying to find my screen.
Dr. Muni, I think your email screen is coming off. Can I share from here?
Yeah, please. Are you able to share it? Okay, here we go. Lalit, can you see me?
Yes, we can see the screen now. Yes.
Lalit?
Yes, Dr. Muni. Yeah, is it now
You
okay?
can see the screen. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Muni Muniappan. I'm the director of the IPM Innovation Lab. And good morning to everybody from Nepal and Bangladesh participating in this webinar. And also thank you for IDE, PQPMC, and all the Nepal organizations sponsoring this webinar. IPM Innovation Lab is very happy to initiate and sponsor this webinar. IPM Innovation Lab has been working in Bangladesh for the past 18 years. It has currently it has two projects. One is the core project we call, that is supported by the Washington DC program. And in this core program, we implement vegetable IPM program in Nepal, primarily developing IPM packages for vegetables and implementing them and also scaling them in the Feed the Future region. The second one we just started early this year, that is the Nepal Mission Associate Award given to the IPM Innovation Lab. And under this project, we work on managing the fall armyworm and also scaling up IPM packages for rice, maize, vegetable, and lentil crops in the Feed the Future region. And so far this year, IPM Innovation Lab was able to conduct almost 6 webinars. Originally, we planned to visit Nepal and work with you all the partners to implement our associate award program. But because of the COVID virus, we were not able to do so. We started to go through webinars so that we will be able to disseminate the information to the stakeholders in Nepal. So first 3 webinars were directed towards pesticide safety. And the 4th one was on rice IPM. And the 5th one was on rearing different parasites of the fall armyworm. Now the current one is about the IPM package for lentil. So in this webinar, we have 4 distinguished speakers.
Dr. Muni, could you please full screen your slide?
The slide is not coming?
It is coming, but maybe you can have full screen. For that, it is coming only the half.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Oh, sorry about it. Okay. So
Yes, Dr. Muni,
All
you
right.
can proceed.
So, today we have 4 distinguished speakers to talk about the pests and diseases of lentil and also how to manage them. The first speaker is Dr. Anamika Sarma. She is a research associate at Virginia Tech. And before that, she was working as postdoc at Montana State University. She received a PhD from Charles Sturt University in Australia in insect ecology. She also has a master's in zoology and entomology from Jainarayan Vyas University at Jodhpur, India. From the same university, she also has a BS degree in zoology. And now she will give a presentation on pests and diseases of lentil. She will cover in general the whole world and will bring it down to Nepal in particular in her presentation. And also she'll summarize IPM approach, how to manage all these pests attacking lentil in Nepal. And followed by there'll be 2 presenters from Nepal and 1 from Bangladesh. I think with this introduction, I'd like to invite Dr. Anamika Sarma to start her presentation. Dr. Sarma?
Dr.
Thank
Muni,
Yeah.
could you stop your slide so that Dr. Anamika can share her slide?
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm. I'm trying to find out where to click. Did I get out?
No.
Full screen. Still not?
No, still.
I'm not getting the. Okay, now I got it.
I'll share the screen now. Can everyone see this?
Please.
Yes, Dr. Anamika. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much, Dr. Muni, and thank you. Good morning and good evening to all of you. Thank you for having me here today, and thank you to all the participants for attending this webinar today. So as Dr. Muni already mentioned, I'll be covering general information regarding the biotic stresses for lentil crop in Nepal, or majority of the information is about Nepal, and then a composite information regarding the integrated pest management tactics to manage insect pests and diseases of lentil. So we shall start now. Okay. First of all, I specifically put that slide thinking that I myself come from India, so I know that the word we use for lentil. In Indian subcontinent, we casually use the word lentil for a lot of other pulses as well. For example, mung bean, moat bean, black gram. We call them, whenever we need to call these pulses in English, we call them as lentils. Nevertheless, the lentil is the one, the red lentil, which in Nepal we call it as masoor or masar dal as well. That's the one which is Lens culinaris. And for visual appearance, there are 3 major varieties found around the globe. One is the French or European lentil, which is falls under the subvariety of Macrosperma. It has a solid coat of brownish and grayish color, something like this. And then, okay, just a moment, I can't see. Okay. And then the other is yellow lentil, which is something like this. This has, so the French lentil and European lentils has a very strong texture, and it can withhold the cooking process we go through, and that's why it's consumed as salad in a lot of Western countries. Whereas the yellow lentil belong to subvariety microsperma. It doesn't hold, again, withheld a lot of cooking process and it breaks down. And third one is the lentil, which we use in Nepal, as we call it as masoor. This is orange cotyledon with the
Dr.
brown.
Anamika, could you please have your slide in the full mode?
Is it not full mode? Let me just see. Is it full now? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the lentil we're going to talk about today. Now, talking about the lentil as a crop itself. This crop comes, it's an old world crop. It comes from, originated in Middle East. And then from Middle East, it migrated and started getting cultivated in Europe as well as in South Asia. And this is a small genus, which has about 7 related taxa, 6 wild taxa, and 1 taxa is Lens culinaris. There are several literature which is also where it is also identified as Lens culinaris orientalis. Geographically, at the moment, it is distributed around the globe. It is cultivated in Australia, Asia, North America, North Africa, Southern Europe, totally more than in 70 countries. Production-wise, the major producers of lentils are Canada, USA, India, Nepal, Australia, Turkey, China, and Bangladesh. And as Corey already mentioned, it is an excellent source of protein, especially for vegetarians and vegan people. Because it's a leguminous crop, so it fixes nitrogen and it also improves soil texture. Technically, this crop can be grown in several variety of soil, but the best soil which suits this crop is deep sandy loam soils with pH around 7. It's a cold-loving crop. It grows well in temperate conditions with low humidity. However, it's not frost tolerant, and that's why frost is a major abiotic stress for this crop. And because it loves cold environment and weather, that is why in temperate conditions, it's grown in summer, whereas in tropical and subtropical climate conditions, it's grown in winter. And that's where Nepal also falls. And that's why in Nepal, lentil is a winter grain legume. And it is grown in, generally, it is grown in agroclimatic zones of Terai, Inner Terai, and mid-hills in Nepal. Now, talking about the production, and I know the later speakers will cover a really good information regarding this as well, but just a general information, Nepal ranked 5th in production in 2013. However, since then, the production has reduced and export also declined. There are several factors, but one factor is also that Canada and USA started producing a lot of lentil since then. Although the production has declined, it is still consumed locally in Nepal a lot, and it still covers 62% of area of total legume grown in Nepal, and it's the largest exported commodity for Nepal. And it exports lentil to Singapore, Sri Lanka, Germany, Korea, UK, Indonesia, and Bangladesh as well. Now, coming to the stresses. So these are the major biotic and abiotic stresses lentil crop goes through. Among abiotic stresses, nutrient disorders, deficiency of macronutrients, micronutrients, or nutrient toxicities, for example, salinity, herbicide injury, heat stress, waterlogging. Waterlogging is another major trouble, especially for the places where they have tendency of having flooding. Then hail injury, frost injury, and then the major topic which we are going to cover today, that is biotic stresses, insect pests and diseases. Now, coming to insect pests of lentil, we can categorize in a broader aspect all the insect pests which infest lentils as a sap-sucking, according to their feeding behavior. So sap-sucking insects, they suck the sap and basically make the plant nutrient deficient. Then the chewing and biting type of insects basically belong to Lepidoptera or Coleoptera. And the larvae of the Lepidoptera families, they cause a lot of damage by chewing and biting different plant parts. And then comes borers. Borers basically bore either pod or seed, and that's why they cause huge losses. And then the last one is the stored pest, in which we will include bruchids, weevils. We'll first start with the chewing and biting insects. The first insect we covered is armyworm. Although this is not a major pest of lentil, however, because it's polyphagous and is widely distributed around the globe, that's why we have covered it as first, because if the outbreak happens, although it's not a major insect pest, if the outbreak happens, it can cause a lot of damage. Once they, like other lepidopteran insects, the larvae feed majorly at nighttime. And as I said, it's a polyphagous insect. It feeds on several vegetable crops, corn, chickpea. And once the larvae finishes, all the instars finishes, the larvae pupate in the soil. And to manage these insects, pheromone traps are available for armyworms, and they are available around the globe, and especially in Indian subcontinent as well, including Nepal. Parasitoid complex of fall armyworm, including Trichogramma and Telenomus remus, they can manage this pest as well. Although they are known as a fall armyworm parasitoid complex, but they can certainly manage this pest as well. Next is black cutworm. They basically, the larval stages, they live below the ground. They are also polyphagous chewing insect, and larvae causes a lot of damage. The mature larvae, they start feeding on the lower zone of the plant, and they start cutting the plant, and that's why they are called as cutworms. And once one larvae cut the plant, it doesn't feed on that anymore. It moves from that plant and it leaves that plant for wither and to dry away. Action threshold is identified for this pest, which is 2 to 3 cutworms per square meter, or 1 larvae per 10 plants. Now for management, because it's a soil dwelling larval stage, that's why a poison bait, which can be prepared by the wheat, bran, cotton, or groundnut, so that bait can attract the cutworm towards it, and that helps in management as well as in monitoring to see that do we have cutworm there, and if yes, then what is the population. And the management for this pest again include, we have a lot of parasitoids, native parasitoids known for that, and predators known for that as well. Entomopathogenic fungus, including some strains of Metarhizium, nematode, and NPV, nuclear polyhydrous virus, are also known to effectively manage this pest. And again, parasitoid complex of fall armyworm can also manage this pest. Next is pod borer. This is again a polyphagous insect, and because it causes different kind of damage than the cutworm and the other lepidopteran insect, it scrapes the surface of the leaflets, and then they feed on the flower as well. For this insect, although it is not present on lentil in Asia that much, however, again, outbreak can occur, and that's why the scouting and monitoring is very, very necessary and essential for this insect. And for action, a threshold is also established already for this insect, which is more than 1 larvae per meter row. Natural enemies are also present. Native parasitoids and predators are also available in Indian subcontinent, including Nepal, and we find them in lentil canopy naturally as well. So the major natural enemy, which is well known and it's commercially available, is again HANPV virus. And pheromone traps are also available to monitor this pest. And again, the parasitoid complex of fall armyworm will also work for this pest. Next is Lima bean pod borer. This is a pod borer, so it bores the pod, and that's why it causes can cause a lot of damage, huge damage. Action threshold is also identified for this pest, which is 1 to 2 larvae per 20 sweeps. This is also polyphagous insect. It feeds on several other leguminous plants specifically. And for this pest particularly, a positive correlation has been established between the number of moths collected in sweep net and the damage occurs to the pod. That's why even if we are not able to go to the pod stage, but if you are collecting and monitoring the pest at the initial stage when the adult population is there and they are ovipositing on the plant, if you see that you have the action threshold of 1 to 2 larvae, 20 seeds or greater than that, then you can directly correlate to the damage that is going to happen to that crop, or the damage which you should be expecting at the end of the season when the pods are there. Host resistance is effective for this pest because the resistant varieties are available in Nepal as well. Again, fall armyworm parasitoid complex will effectively work for this pest as well. Next is aphids. They come into the category of sap-sucking insects. They are polyphagous insects. And here we have included two kind of aphids. One is the black aphid, which is also called cow pea aphid commonly, and the other one is the normal aphid, which is called pea aphid. So the black aphids are major trouble. Both of them are major, but among both of them, the black aphid are the major. And they are we can identify them very easily because they are black in color and they are tinier than the pea aphid. So if you are observant enough in the field, you can easily identify them. Because they have multiple generation in one season, they grow in abundance on a plant. And that's why they directly damage by sucking the sap, and also because they consume amino acids and sugar composition from plant, they secrete a lot of sugar as well. When they secrete sugar, they attract sooty mold on them. And that we can see as a black residue on the leaves or the twigs of the plant. That causes a decline in the photosynthesis capability of plant. And that's how it indirectly damages the plant as well. Other indirect damage these both aphids do is they transmit viruses. Most of the major viruses of lentil are transmitted by aphids, and both of them are common among them. There are resistant varieties available, especially some tolerant varieties which have more hairs on it. They can be tolerant towards the aphid infestation because the hairs will basically hinder the feeding of aphid or establishment of aphid on the plant. There are predators and parasitoids also. Plenty of predators and parasitoids are reported from Indian subcontinent. However, in the literature I have seen, it's again and again been said that the conservation of parasitoids and predators is very, very necessary, and that we can do by judicial use of pesticides. Next is again sap-sucking green sting bug. It's again a polyphagous pest. It's distributed around the globe. It sucks saps from leaves, stems, and pod, and it causes malformation and drying of plant. Action threshold is also established, 36 insects per 100 sweeps. Other than lentil, it feeds on vegetable, clover, cotton, cowpea, fava beans, potato, wheat, barley. So it has a variety of families included as a host range of this pest. For this pest, in several European countries, as well as in USA and Canada, trap crops are used effectively. However, the same thing cannot be said about Nepal because the planting system is not monoculture. So the trap crop might not be the best and effective management strategy, which is kind of established in other countries. But early planting, close spacing, and can be good cultural methods to manage this pest. Parasitoids are also identified to attack the eggs of this pest. Next is lygus bug. This is again a sap-sucking insect. This is also a polyphagous insect, this pest is not a major trouble in Asia at the moment. But again, if the outbreak happens, then this pest is also very hard to control, and it causes huge damage by sucking the sap and also by creating a specific kind of characteristic damage to the pod, which or a seed, which is called chalky spot syndrome, which is basically has a pitted or depression on a seed coat with or without discoloration. Action threshold is also established for this pest. That is 1 lygus bug for every 3 sweeps. And that is also economic threshold, means we need to see, if we see this number, then we are gonna see some economic damage to the crop for sure. Then scouting is again an important aspect to manage this pest. Entomopathogenic fungus and combination of entomopathogenic fungus plus some antifidant, some chemical antifidant insecticides are supposed to be effective to manage this pest. Then bruchids, they are again, bruchids itself are very polyphagous, and they are found distributed around the world, including Africa, America, Asia, Australia, Europe, and other parts of the world as well. The major the important thing about bruchids, which sometimes makes other people or the normal farmers confused, is that because we call this pest as a stored grain pest or a stored crop pest, this does not reproduce in the storage. So what happens during its life cycle, the adults feed on the pollens, and then they oviposit they lay their eggs on the tender pods of the crop, in this case lentil. And then once the eggs will hatch, the larvae will start making their way towards the seed, and they start feeding in the seed. And once all the stages of larval stages are finished, the adult will come out of the seed by making a circular, absolute circular exit hole, which is also a characteristic feature for this insect. And if it comes out, then it will hibernate either in the residual crop or below the bark of the surrounding trees, which are around the crop. If it doesn't come out and if it stays in the seed, then it goes to the storage with the seed. And that's why it's known as the storage pest. Once it is in the storage, it's not gonna reproduce there. And that's why if some farmer has this problem in storage, there are possibilities of fumigation or using the hot air or water treatment, or the use of inert dust. Inert dust are available and are used in several countries. In Nepal, this might not be the best strategy once you have in your storage, because we don't have a lot of storage facilities there. So farmers might not store in a big storage facility that they can fumigate or they can apply the inert dust. Action threshold is also available for this pest, 1 weevil per 25 sweep. Now coming to the disease of lentil in Nepal, this part will be definitely covered in a great detail by other speakers as well, but here I'll cover very general information regarding this disease. So for disease, we have identified them as a foliar disease, seed or seedling rot disease, and then viruses, and we're also going to talk about nematodes as well in this section. First, coming to the most popular disease, I believe, in Nepal at the moment for lentil is stem phylum blight. This is a foliar fungal disease. It's a major problem in Asia. The first outbreak was identified in Bangladesh in 1986, and since then it is a major problem. Up to this point, it was known to cause heavy damage in Bangladesh and in northeastern part of India, but now it seems that it's just growing everywhere. The host range of this disease is very, very wide, including cotton, mango, onion, and tomato. It first damages the upper canopy and then it slowly moves down the lower canopy of the plant. This causes leaf loss and decreased plant biomass, seed site, yield, and germination rates. The good thing about this, the good thing is that there are a lot of resistant varieties available, and there is a lot of work has been undertaken already regarding the monitoring and the impact of weather conditions in Southeast Asia for this disease in lentil and for other crops as well. Two important things, as I mentioned, several resistant varieties and tolerant cultivars are available, but two major aspects which are important to understand for the management of this disease are the seeding time, if you're doing early or delaying, that is the seeding time, plus inclusion of resistant or tolerant variety. Second disease we are going to talk about is anthracnose. Some disease seed does impact this disease, the seed-borne, but it's not absolutely seed-borne disease. So the major way of transmission of this disease is from active plant infections or from the spores lying dormant on foliage from past years. This, the spores of this disease can survive in the soil for 3 years. So even if your crop has been taken out from there, you don't have any residues. If you have this disease in your field, that can survive for 3 years easily. It causes irregular shape, loud brown necrosion, and the major growing stage where it causes the major damage is when the plant is about 4 to 6 weeks old. Again, the high humidity and temperatures are very favorable for this disease. Next is rust. It's a foliar disease. It's widespread around the world. For this, it infects all the above ground plant parts. This is very easily identified by most of the people. There isn't much confusion when it comes to rust. There are monogenic resistant cultivars are available. Also, for this, although this is a foliar disease, seeding of clean seeds, uninfected seeds, is highly recommended to manage this disease. Next is Escachita Blight. This is again a foliar, seed fungal disease as well. This was first found in India in 1934, and since then it has been now found in around the globe in almost every continent. This disease attacks all above ground plant parts at every growth stage. And when the severe infestation is there, this can be easily identified as the lesion girdles to the stem, and it causes death of all tissues above the lesion. For this disease specifically, resistant variety plus crop rotation can be really effective. Crop rotation is a major cultural method to manage this disease. Then comes Powdery Medium. Again, this disease can also be identified fairly reasonably easily. This is also a foliar fungal disease, again found around the globe. This disease can cause small white spots on leaf surfaces. And when if the heavy damage is there, the heavy infestation is there, then the entire leaf becomes chlorotic and curled. Cool and dry weather is favorable for this disease. It means if we are having our winter dry, then definitely this disease is going to be a major problem for the crop. This has a wide host range as well. This causes damage to several plant families. That's why it's easy for this disease to stay in the area even if you're not growing lentil. Use of resistant cultivar is the most effective way to manage this disease. Next is Botritis gray mold. This is again widely distributed and has a wide host range as well. It affects all the above ground plant parts, including leaves, stems, flowers, spots, and seeds. And outbreak of this disease is also reported in all growing regions. Series of cool, wet summers is ideal for development of this disease. For this disease, use of trichoderma is really effective. It's found to be really effective. And several resistant varieties are already identified in Nepal and Pakistan. Next is Fusarium wilt. This disease is also found around the globe in Americas, Africa, Europe, and Asia. This is reported at the seedling stage only. But it affects both seedling and reproductive stages. Resistant and early maturing cultivars are available in several countries, including Nepal. The major important aspect to understand about this disease is there's a synergistic relationship happens for this disease A synergistic relationship basically benefits both the partners who are in relationship. So in this case, the two partners are the wilt and nematodes. So the root knot nematodes and fusarium wilt, they have synergistic relationship. So when the root knot nematodes are present in the soil, they cause damage to the root, and the damage caused by nematodes facilitates the infestation of this disease and the spurge of this disease very easily and very quickly in the lentil crop. That is why if we are able to control nematodes in the soil or in the field, we will be effectively able to control this disease as well. Again, trichoderma is an inclusion of Pseudomonas florens are effective way to manage this disease. Next is collar rot. As the name suggests, it rots the collar of the plant. This infects, this causes actually yellowish brown discoloration and rotting. So once you will take the plant out, you will be able to see easily that there is some sort of collar rot there. Temperature and moisture fluctuation and cycles of drying and wetting stimulate this disease. Use of calcium fertilizer helps to reduce this disease, and resistant varieties are also available for this disease. This disease also have tendency to remain viable for 2 to 3 years in the soil. And one typical characterization of this disease is the patchy damage. If you are seeing a lot of patchy damage in the field, and if you suspect that there can be a collar rot, then there are higher chances that there is collar rot. And resistant varieties are available for this disease as well. Then comes downleaf mildew. This disease is also fungal disease and causes damage to the aerial plant parts. It causes curling and twisting of the plant leaves. Cool and humid conditions are favorable for this disease, and resistant germplasm lines are also identified for this disease. As a cultural method, high plant densities and early planting is suggested to manage this disease. Then we come to viruses. These are the 3 major viruses which are supposed to be causing a lot of damage in Indian subcontinent. But there are other viruses as well, which can be major depending on the year and the climatic conditions. So the major 3 viruses we have included are cucumber mosaic viruses. They call the basic characterization of the virus damage is almost similar. Chlorosis, malformation, and curling and stunting of the plant, mottling and twisting and curling. But just little difference in the damage to the pod and flowering stages that happens. So for cucumber mosaic virus, the best way to manage again this is the virus-free seeds. So the clean seeds, the uninfected seeds are very necessary to start the crop. Tolerant varieties are available, not the resistant, but the tolerant varieties are available in Australia, but I haven't come to anything which is available in Indian subcontinent or in Nepal. Then comes bean yellow mosaic virus. As I mentioned, the basic damage or the basic characters of this virus is same. It has really broad host range, and it actually infests more than 200 plant species. And the best cultural method to manage any virus, but specifically this virus, is to eliminate the host weeds around the crop. Then comes the pea seed-borne mosaic virus. This is again, for this one, the major difference from the other, especially the bean yellow mosaic virus, is this transmits from plant to plant. This is again widely distributed, but there is no resistance or tolerant varieties available for this particular virus disease. Again, these are again transmitted by aphids. So to manage aphids, we'll also manage the viruses. Then come nematodes. The first major nematodes is reniform nematodes we have included. The female body is kidney shaped, that's why it's called reniform. And it causes patches of stunted and chlorotic plants. Infected plants grow less vigorously. And also soil, to manage this nematode, soil solarization by using the polythene bags is a cultural method which is used in several countries. For another nematode, root knot disease, This nematode also has wide host range, and as I already mentioned during the fusarium wilt, it has synergistic relationship with that. So if we control this, we can control fusarium as well, and vice versa. For this particular nematode, crop rotation with the cereal crops, like for example, barley, wheat, and maize, can definitely help to manage this nematode. There are other important diseases and insect pests are there, but since they are not supposed to be causing major damage, that's why we have just included that as in our list. Then comes the IPM package for lentil. In the IPM package, we have included cultural management, tolerant and resistant varieties, and microbials, conserve and release of natural enemies, biopesticides, and chemical pesticides. So under cultural management, soil salutation is supposed to be treating a lot of soil-borne diseases and soil-inhabiting insect pests as well. Use of disease-free seeds is major thing to avoid any disease problem in lentil crop. Organic soil amendments are also suggested. Sun drying and solar treatment is recommended for storage pest, which is bruchids. However, sun drying is also recommended for seed-borne diseases as well. And crop rotation, as I mentioned in each and every slide, there are diseases and insect pests where crop rotation can help, or 2 to 3 year gap period can also help. However, this might not be possible to use in Nepal agriculture conditions or practices. But use of rice and lentil rotation that can definitely help, because rice is cereal and lentil is legume. So anything which is causing damage to rice will not have the same host range as lentil, and vice versa. And that can actually help in minimize if any farmer is going through a intense infestation or infection of any particular insect pest or disease. Changing in planting days, either early planting or delay in planting, also impact some diseases and insect pests, but it all depends on what is the major target, which pest or which disease is the major target. Wide row spacing is also important to reduce insect pest incidence. There can be a little controversy there, because for disease and viruses, sometimes they say that the close or canopy is good for viruses, but the same thing cannot be said about disease or insect pests. Weed management is again a crucial way to manage a lot of insect pests and some diseases as well. Canopy management to manage microclimate to avoid diseases in lentil. For microbials, there are several naturally available microbials are available. So when we talk about microbials, they are a little different from botanical pesticides, because they are a live culture of either fungus or bacteria or viruses, and that's why we separate them as microbials. Entomopathogenic fungus, Bavaria metarrhizum, several strains of Bavaria metarrhizum, they are known to manage sting bugs and lygus bugs and other insect pests as well. For example, cutworm, the soil inoculation will definitely help cutworm of entomopathogenic fungus. Soil and seed application of trichoderma, different strains of trichoderma also manages collar rot. Now, there's one point which Dr. Muni specifically told me to include that because it's going to be useful. That is the use of gum arabic in the water while we coat the seed with trichoderma. And the reason is the lentil is also very shiny and very, doesn't have a lot of adherence. So gum arabic would basically work as adhesive that will help trichoderma to stick to the lentil seed properly. And that's why it will improve the efficacy of trichoderma. So use of gum arabic is recommended. Then again, under microbials, bacteria, several bacterials are known, which can, along with trichoderma and other entomopathogenic fungus, can very well manage the diseases and insect pest without using a lot of unnecessary pesticides as well. Soil inhabiting fungus, Paecilomyces lalicinus is also used with neem cake to control nematode infestation in the feed. Again, seed treatment with Trichoderma and Streptomyces, Pseudomonas, and Bacillus species can be used to manage fusarium wilt and root rot of lentil. Seed, although this lentil itself is a leguminous crop and fixes nitrogen, and that's why if we treat the seed with rhizobium, it will help in root nodule development, and healthier the plant, the better the chances to withstand any kind of disease or pest infestation. Hence, it is highly, highly recommended. The only trouble with rhizobium is that you have to keep rhizobium inoculate in a cooler environment. So you can't keep that entire day in the soil and just keep using it. The efficacy of inoculant will reduce. So that's the only a practical thing which we need to keep in mind. Seed treatment with, again, Trichoderma species to control soil-borne diseases as well. Seed treatment of Trichoderma and Streptomyces also helps in soil-borne diseases as well. Then come biological management. As I mentioned again and again while talking about all the lepidopteran chewing and biting insects, the fall armyworm parasitoid complex, specifically Trichogramma and Telenomus, they are produced by National Entomology Research Center and National Maize Research Program. They can control the other insect pests of the other lepidopteran insect pests as well. Then come biopesticides and chemical pesticides. So the chemical pesticides we have used here or mentioned here are all mentioned in PERSWEB for Nepal. So they are safe to use and legal to use in Nepal. Among botanical pesticides, foliar application of neem kernel extract, neem oil, and pyrethrins, all three are insect repellent. For pyrethrins, they are also natural product, but nowadays there are products which are chemically synthesized. Pyrethrins are also available in the market. Although even if you are using chemically synthesized, it doesn't have a lot of harmful impact on environment and growers' health. Soil application of neem cake, castor oil, mustard cake, and cotton cake are also known to manage nematode infestation for lentil crop. Then use of tolerant and resistant varieties of diseases. These are some of the resistant varieties we found in the literature, so that's why we mentioned here. I'm expecting to see more and more varieties in the later coming presentations as well. But these are the major varieties which are available in Nepal. Actually, some of them are exclusively developed in Nepal as well, for Nepal lentil as well. So they can be really helpful for farmers or for extension agents to just keep a list of them and target what kind of disease and insect pests they are majorly having in what particular field. Similarly, for insect pests as well, there are tolerant and resistant varieties available. There are not as many as we have for diseases, but still there are some, especially for aphids and for Lima bean pod borer. So this is almost end of the presentation. So the major takeaway IPM tactics which we want to mention here is the first and foremost, pesticide need-based use of or judicial use of pesticide should be encouraged. There are a lot of pheromone traps are available for almost all the lepidopteran insects which infest lentil. Yellow streaky traps can be used for aphids. Parasitoid complex of fall armyworm can be used for lepidopteran insects, and they will effectively manage the other lepidopteran insects as well for lentils. Most of the diseases and viral diseases, fungal viral diseases, both of them, they are seed-borne. And that's why if we treat seed, there are good chances that we can manage the diseases, fungal as well as the viral diseases. And to improve the efficacy, other than chemical seed treatment, if you are choosing to use the natural Trichoderma seed treatment, then to improve the efficacy of Trichoderma, use of gum arabic can be really, really effective. And it is shown to improve the efficacy multifold when we use with Trichoderma. Use of resistant varieties. There are a lot of resistant varieties available. So the best is just to keep always your eyes open that we are choosing what insect pest or disease we are, or what complex of insect pest and disease we are targeting, and which would be the best resistant or tolerant variety will be for me or for the particular farmer. Then under cultural methods, crop rotation if possible. appropriate row spacing, sun drying of seeds for both storage pests as well as for the soil-borne diseases, proper sanitation and canopy managements are highly effective to manage biotic stresses in lentil. I thank all our partners, and with this, I'll finish the presentation. Thank you. And I'm open for any questions. Dr. Muni might definitely want to add something to this presentation for sure. I was sharing. Should I stop sharing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Anamika. Dr. Muni? Dr. Muni, you are hearing? Okay.
Yeah, Lalit, please.
Yeah, Dr. Muni,
proceed with the
over to you.
presentations. Yeah.
Can I proceed, Dr. Muni, or you want to proceed?
Yeah, please go ahead and introduce the other participants.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Anamika, for your nice presentation for this lentil webinar, and also your great effort for this webinar. And after that, I think whatever the question came up in the chat box, I would kindly request you all, our speaker, please use the chat box for the respective question answer to their respective audience as well. And after that, I would like to request our second speaker from the Nepal, our scientist from the grain legumes research program, Khajura, Lakshman Aryal, and actually he's working for the NARC at Khajura grain legumes research program since from last 5 years. And before he joining to NARC, he was working as a professor at the he was working as a assistant professor of plant pathology at the Institute of Agriculture and Animal Science at Pakliaba for since from two years. And I would like to welcome our scientist Lakshman Aryal for your presentation for this webinar. Lakshman sir, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is it audible? Is it listening to all?
Yes, yes, it is audible. Please share your slide.
Yeah, I have shared. It is not visible.
Not visible, but there is. I think you are sharing the folder file where the different types of file is showing over. Maybe you can open that one. You have selected the ID final file as well.
No, no. In my screen, it has been visible here.
Maybe you can close and again, because I'm not.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, it is showing now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay. First of all, welcome to you all and namaste. Myself, Lakshman Aryal. I'm working in grain legume research program as a plant pathologist for 5 years. The topic today to present was the IPM practices that is followed in lentil. So I'm going to present my content here. Previously, Dr. Anamika has covered all the things. She has summarized all the insects and the diseases possible in the lentil. So in my presentation, I'm going to just stick in my disease part only, because being a pathologist, I'm going to focus on the diseases and actually on the outputs, what we are doing in the disease part in the research perspective of GLRP. So coming to the background, this we can see this lentil is a important crop of Nepal and sharing the area of 63%, and in the production share also it's sharing 65%. And till now we have released the lentil 14 lentil varieties with some micronutrient rich line also with rich in zinc and iron. These are the 14 lentil varieties we have released so far. And looking to the area and production over the last 5 years, we can see the average productivity is 1200 kg per hectare. We can see here the not much area and production has been declined, but the productivity is 1200 kg per hectare. But in the farmers field, we are not able to meet this productivity. There are many factors about this cause. We'll discuss later. And I have shown here the provinces wise how lentil is covering in the different 7 provinces. It is important crop. So we can see here from the first province, we can see lentil covering 34%. And in the province 2, it is 77%. And it's in province 3, there is a lentil 23%. In province 4, there is 23%. And province 5 also, it is 76%. And province 6 is 26%. And in the province number 7, it covers 70%. So it is most popular in all the provinces, and the people, they sow the lentil. This is the scenario of the lentil in Nepal. So coming to here, there are the many constraints over the lentil production. We say in research, we say in the extension, the productivity of lentil is 1200 and somewhat 1100, 1400. In research, it has more potential varieties also. But in farmers level, we cannot expect this type of productivity. There are different constraints in the farmers field. So talking about the biotic constraint, we can see the different important diseases here and insects also. And now the stem phylum blight has become the major challenges for the farmers, this disease. And also in the early stage, there is the problem of root rot disease. That is simply a fusarium wilt, or that is a polar rot, or sometimes it comes the root rot complex also. We can find in the same disease sample also, we can find the fusarium and rhizotonia, they are attached together also. This is the most problem in the early establishment of the plant. It also causes the yield decline for the farmers. And we can see different insects also, aphids, and likewise the weed also. Farmers do not care about the weeds because they take lentil as a very easy crop. They do not manage the crop as they do for the cereal crop. So this is also the problem why the lentil is yield is declining here. And we can see in the abiotic stress also, we have faced in our research also last year, winter rainfall, waterlogging in the research plot. So we are much more affected last year by the winter rainfall, unpredicted winter rainfall. So this is also a problem for the lentil growers. And there is a drought also, as far as farmers will catch the residual moisture after rice harvest for the lentil sowing. But if the late varieties of the rice are sown, the residual moisture will not be sufficient for the early germination of the lentil. So there is also the problem for the early germination of the lentil, and terminal heat stress also. And at the time of grain filling period, there is the high terminal stress. So the lentil, it matures, but the grains are not much bold. So the quality and the production is decreased also. And except the biotic and abiotic constraint, I would like to mention here the social and technical part also. It is playing a major role for the lentil growers. Why it is not catching lentil to be the main crops for them? There are some factors also, because there is a low seed replacement rate regarding other cereals. In lentil, there is a low seed replacement rate. Although 14 varieties have been released so far, but in many places we go and visit in field level, and we ask them what is the variety you are showing, but they are not able to spell the variety's name as they do for the cereals. They can say for the rice, they say Savitri, Radha Char, Radha 14. For the wheat, they say Aditya. They are now able to spell the cereals, but it is very difficult for the farmers to spell the lentil varieties, what they are showing. They are not able to say the new names of the varieties. So the released varieties are not still on their field. So it is also creating a very problem. And there is a yield gap. There is a huge yield gap. We can see in research plot, the released varieties have the potential yield of 2000 kg per hectare also. But the national scenario is productivity of 1200, but there is also the gap 700. But in farmers field, still it is below. So this is also creating some factors for the lentil production. And there is no market assurance for the farmers. because they produce they produce the yield, but in the market, when they see the price, there is the total declining, fluctuating price. When there is problem like this year, the demand of lentil is very high because the last year winter rainfall has tremendously decreased the lentil production, and this year we can see in the market the lentil demand is very high. So it is depending upon the climate also. It is very risky also, and depending the market, and the demand is depending on the market also. So the market assurance is not good, so farmers are not convinced easily for this crop, and less management practices followed compared to the other crops. So we can see the farmers who is sowing the rice, he visits the field 1 or 2 times, morning, evening, how it is improving. But in lentil, we see farmers, they do not regularly visit the field. They do not take it seriously. So it is also creating some problem for them to gain the attainable yield for them. So these are the factors I am talking for the constraint in the lentil production. Okay, regarding the biotic factors, I'm going to focus only on the major diseases which are importantly occurring in the context of Nepal and causing the yield decline. So firstly, I would like to go for stem phylum blight. Is a major fungal disease. It is a major disease for Nepal also, and it has a yield loss range of 60%, and depends upon the yield loss is not journal. It is not journal for all the times, but it depends upon the weather factor also. When the disease is appearing, at what stage the disease is appearing, so it is a problem. For stem phylum blight, we say earlier we can see in many reviews also, stem phylum blight is more severe at the time of flowering or this and that, but it is not so. Nowadays we can see the changing dynamics of the pathogen due to this this climate change also. So it is become the disease for the earlier threat also. So we have to just monitor the disease for the early appearance to save the final yield. So this is the major disease. And next is Fusarium wilt, which is also major disease in the context of Nepal, caused by the Fusarium oxysporium formis lentis, and it has also the yield loss of 50%. We can see at the time of seedling also, and at the time of the reproductive stage also, we can see the Fusarium wilt. And next is foot and root rot. This is the kolar rot. It's a major disease now. It is appearing in the context of Nepal, basically in the lowlands and having the high moisture condition. The disease is becoming more popular. So it has also the yield loss of 44%. And the next is rust. We do not find it as a major disease, but we can see in the sporadic manner. We can see in some year we can see this disease occurring in the different part of the country also. So these are the diseases I'm going to focus for them. So for stem phylum blight, this is the major disease. So we are constantly working for this disease, because in the farmers field also we get a call, we get a information. The disease is very severe in the field, and we visit the field. What is the main problem? So we find generally the stem phylum blight in the farmers field. So it is a fungal, and we can see the disease starts with a little tan brown lesion on the leaves at the initial stage. So if we do not just scout the field and we do not monitor it closely, we cannot find the early appearance. So this is the problem. In the time interval, the small light brown lesion on the leaves which were developing, they produce the spore, and the increment or the increased inoculums, conidia, in the later stage, in the short period of time, they damage the field. So it is important to visit the field and scout the field for the early appearance of the stem phylum blight. So we can manage it with this different chemical or some safe fungicides in the field. So it is not until the 10 brown leaves are evident both above and under the canopy. So these are the diagram we are showing. These are the searching for the early stem phylum blight. So what we can see, and in the next picture we can see the brown lesion. They are appearing on the leaves, and we are working for this diagnosis also. What is the main causative agents for this appearance? So we are working on the lab also, and we finally found the conidia of stem phylum Botritis in the microscope also. And in the last picture, I would like to show stem phylum blight disease development, how it is developing. It's like a life cycle of the human life. So like from the child and it is to the older age, we can see the initial light lesions, and it is increasing slowly. We can see the lesions are increasing and increasing, and finally the total leaves is collapsed. And we can see as long as the color are changed, the sporulation, or that is the conidia, are increasing. That is the color change shows the how much the disease is developing in that area. So when look from the far area of the field also, so we can see the blackening color in there. So we can see the pathogen is sporulating high, and it can be windborne, airborne, and it can just disseminate to the other field, healthy field. So it is the main problem for the stem phylum blight. So for this disease, for the management of the disease from the GLRP, we are working in the many aspects. The main thing is to manipulate or to manage the disease. So we are working on the date of sowing. So how can we escape the disease? So we can see the trial conducted at different date of sowing. For the 18th October, sowing possesses the low disease severity and high yield. It was back in 2014-15. We can see here as early as the date of sowing is concerned, we can see the low disease severity with yield also is above 1 ton. But as long as we delay the sowing dates, the disease severity is increasing with the decrease in the yield. So we see this trend. But these are the back 2014-15. Now the scenario has been changed now. Now it is not what we say. Is early we saw the disease is low, but it's not the same. Now we can relate this evidence of 2018 and 19. We saw the mystery of stem phylum blight. This changes over the year and within the year also. We can see in the first picture, you can see the stem phylum blight, which is in the seedling stage. After the 14 days of sowing, it was noticed in the field. It is from my research field. And in 35 days after sowing, you see the severity of the disease, how it has increased, and the black sporulation of the disease in 2009. But back to 2018, we see stem phylum blight after 15 days after sowing. We can see this appearance of the lesion, 10 brown lesion is starting after the 58 days. And in grand pod filling period, the disease severity is this. But we can compare the 35 days severity and stem phylum blight at pod filling stage, the severity is same. So we cannot stick the disease. When we show early the disease escapes, it is not now. We have to think over the appearance of the disease. So we have to think. We have to think for the disease also appears at the early stage. We have to visit the field. We have to monitor for the early appearance, and we have to be prepared for the management by different aspects for the farmers. So, it is very important for the farmers to make them aware how the symptom develops, what is the actual symptom, so that they can apply some good cultural methods or some good safe fungicides so that they can save their crop. So for this, we are just working for the modeling also for the early warning system also, so that early warning system gives the information so that the disease is now is forecasted for the early appearance, so that farmers can be ready to save their crops. So the stem phylum model also is being now popular also, and we are also going to just test in the Nepalese context also.
Lakshman, you have to move a little fast. Only 2 minutes left.
Thank you, sir. This is the varietal screening. The different varieties we have screened. This is how we screen the varieties, and this is the diagrammatic scale I have developed from my field also. We can see the different resistance varieties. We can see black moisture, which is the latest release varieties also. This is the way we release the varieties. Okay. And working on the botanicals also, this is the research done by Subhash Subedi, Dr. Subhash Subedi. We can see the Acromos, Calamus, and Timur. These also help the disease to suppress in the lab condition. It is the lab condition. They have done a good things for in the management of stem phylum blight. And this is the chemical fungicides. We have used the SAF, mancozeb, and the chlorothalonil, Fantor. And using the chlorothalonil for it gave 22% yield increment. Compared to the control plot, and by reducing the disease also. This is how we use in the field. And integrated approach, we can see here the recommended technology. How the recommended technology if adapted, It has to decrease the disease and increase the yield. In recommended technology, we have improved variety, seed priming, recommended seed rate, fertilizers, mancozeb spray for the 3 times at the 10-day interval. But in farmers' practice, they do not do other practices. Only they use the seed. It is 40 kg. It is 60 kg in relay sowing. We can see the comparable 640 kg yield advantage over the farmers' practice and the recommended technology. And this is fusarium wilt. This is also important disease, which is seed and soil borne. It is seen only in the seedling stage and the reproductive stage also. And for the how we can just confirm the disease, we can see it in the seedling stage is confused with the Cholera also. But we can just easily confirm it by plating in the plotter paper also. The white mycelium it appears, and we can see in the fourth picture there is the conidia, which is seen in the microscope. It is sickle-shaped conidia. And for the management of fusarium wilt, Bevestin 2 kg per hectare result the low disease compared to the no fungicide. This is seed treatment and crop rotation. As we know, the fusarium wilt is a soil borne also. As long as we go for the crop rotation with the non-host, it has to suppress the disease inoculum. So we can again use that field. And for the identification of wilt tolerant genotype, we can see the Simric is a resistance one, but other are not selected as a good for fusarium wilt. And root rot complex, we see the root rot complex, fusarium sclerotinia rotsai. It has also a yield loss of 44%. We see in the early harvest due to residual moisture causing seedling and poor stand of the crop. So we will be confused with the fusarium wilt and this root rot at the early stage, but we can easily identify if we use the infected plant root sample in the blotter paper. After the 3 to 4 days, you can see the white mycelium. And after 2 to 3 days, you can find the small mustard-like sclerotinia, which are the resting spores. They remain in the soil, and they survive. And the next season they again come. They grow as a mycelium, and again they infect the seedling. So the disease in the next year will be appeared. For this root rot management, we have done in the lab condition also. We have in the inoculated condition. We have used the 14 lentil genotypes, but only we could find only the IL6467, flip this. These were low compared to other genotypes used. We have inoculated this, and in vitro test also was done for the inhibition of Sclerotia rotsai. We have used the different fungicides, but mancozeb and SAF, which was used as a 500 ppm, they inhibited the growth of the sclerotinia at the 7 days. And in the 7 days in control plot, the plate was fully covered. So these are also a good fungicide we have find out. And for the this is the lentil rust. It is not much appeared in the context of Nepal, but sometimes we see as sporadic. We can see in the this was a picture of rust appeared in the Kapurkot Lowland 2016. And at the same time, we at the time of this trial, we found black mosquito was very good against the rust, and so we could find that black rust has a good potential for the steam rust. And I'm not going to talk much about this, so I'm just including the important field pest, this field insect, this aphid, which is important. So it sucks the sap from the fallen parts, and high aphid density plant are deformed, stunted, and seed set is also reduced. And it's appearing starting from the January, and its population increases as the winter temperature, that is winter temperature means maximum minute temperature increases, the aphid population also increases. So Dr. Saraswati Neupane has done a research and find out some this genotype which are good for which are less susceptible for the aphids, and also the imidacloroprid 0.3 ml per liter have good control over the aphid control. And finally, I'm going to show the lentil. This is also the major problem in the farmer's field. These are the picture I collected from the research plot only. These are the important winter weeds I found from the lentil field. These are the Chinopodium anagalis, and this is Holole, Fumaria, Vicia, Oxalis, Cynodon. These are the major weeds. These are encountered in the winter in the lentil field. So for this management, we have done for the pendimethalin, that's called Penda, at the rate of 4 ml per liter. At the pre-emergence, at the within the 70 days after sowing, if we use 3 ml or 4 ml of pendimethalin, it gives a good control, followed by 25 days after hand sowing. It gives a good result for the control of the weeds. So this was finally my presentation. Thank you all.
Lalit.
Okay, thank you, Lakshman sir, for your very nice presentation, and I hope it is very fruitful for all the audiences. And thank you for your time. And as informed earlier, Lakshman sir has some of the important meeting about to their field, and he is not joining the whole session. And I would like to thank on behalf of organizer team. I would like to thank you for your very good presentation on this. And if any question, maybe from our speaker team, will respond for the queries on that. And maybe I think I will request you all to have your contact in the chat box, so that we can. And also, I think while registering, we got your email, and we'll come up with all the recording file, as well as the presentation as well. And with this, I would request our expert, lentil expert from the Bangladesh, and Dr. Moin Salam, and he's one of the global expert on lentil. And I request Dr. Moin for your presentation. I am not before presenting presentation. Maybe I'll request to have your short bibliograph, so that every participant they can know about you. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Moin.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, yes. You can have mode of your presentation. It is showing both. I think you can have the full mode. Yeah, okay. Now it is okay. Thank you.
Now, now it's okay. Okay, thank you very much. My name is Moin Salam. I believe I am not a stranger in Nepal. Many of you are joining today. Probably you know me. I am not quite expert in lentil, but some field crops. My experience mainly in Australia, because I am an Australian citizen, been working there for about 20 years. I am in sabbatical here. And for last 3 years or so, I've been working in Nepal. So I know Nepal very well, especially the Terai area. A few of my collaborators are there. And I think on the 7th of September, I gave another presentation to Kisan colleagues there. So what I'm going to, my background, I do teaching, but also do a lot of research, and that's how I am involved in lentil now. And still I am involved in lentil in Nepal, and I will be keep going for next two seasons or so. So coming back to the presentation, we had two speakers, Dr. Anamika and Lakshman Ariel. So they gave a very good overview about the insect and pests. So I'm not going to touch this one, but what I'm going to present today, that how we can fit IPM package that Dr. Muni is taking care of into the transforming lentil industry in Nepal. Now the question is, lentil and Nepal are synonymous almost, because what you see that lentil grows everywhere, almost everywhere in Nepal. So you can see that. Just trying to put this one. So you can see that from last year's Nepal government data, in each and every district in Nepal is covered by lentil, except 3. So it's a household sort of farming, not only the field farming. Now, if you see that here, that the cumulative area under Nepal is about 80% area is covered in lowlands in the Terai region, all these districts here, but lentil is also grown in the uplands, in the hills, about 30% of the area. Now, what is happening now, that the lentil area is decreasing in the eastern Terai because it gets getting huge competition with the winter maize area. So that is one of the issue. And the other issue is in the western Terai, the area of lentil is almost same. So why we are talking about lentil, and especially the IPM? If we look in the figures on the left, for example, we see that Nepal been surplus of lentil, okay? Then for the last 5 years or so, that domestic demand has increased, the production has decreased. So Nepal gone from deficit of lentil from the surplus. Still, what we are talking about, that Nepal is a good exporter of lentil, it's also exporting, but it's importing currently more than what Nepal has been exporting. On the right-hand figure, you can see that Nepal started exporting lentil back in 1983, and it was going very well, was increasing over time. Then suddenly, since 2015, the balance has gone negative. So they are not exporting, but also importing, and about $40 million value they imported. They had to import. So this is a peculiar scenario. The Nepal is a peculiar scenario currently on lentil industry. They're exporting and importing. So that's how we need to vitalize the lentil industry in Nepal. That's what we were talking in our previous webinar talk back in 7 September with the Kisan friends. So Nepal needs good surgery to vitalize its lentil industry. How can we do that? So we developed a framework for uplifting and sustaining lentil production in Nepal. You know that the area under lentil has become almost standstill in the last 4 or 5 years. So the only way we can uplift lentil production by increasing productivity. Now, there are 4 components interconnected for increasing productivity of lentil in Nepal. 1, genotype or the variety. The second, in management. Third is the climate. And 4, importantly, the people. Now, what we'll do, that increasing productivity will enhance profitability. Without profitability, the industry cannot sustain. And increasing profitability will reduce the competitiveness with other industry. So we have to follow through this chain. Now, we were talking about the variety. It's good. The variety should be for the specific production domain. A variety cannot sustain or cannot be adopted. The good one, whatever we say, what Lakshman was telling, it will not be adopted by the farmers unless it suits to their production domain. Now, why the management? Even the best variety without a good management will yield almost nothing. So there is a big interaction with genotype or variety and management. And these two are mostly controlled by climate or the environment, what we say. Now, there are 2 types of decisions needed. One is strategic, that is the pre-season. What sort of variety will be farmers adopting, and what sort of management they will be prepared to apply to their lentil fields. The second, that is related to the climate. So what I'll insist that all the management, including the IPM, should be synchronized with this system, because remember, we are talking about uplifting the lentil industry in Nepal. So anything goes against that, whatever the technology we apply, whatever the IPM technology you try to apply, will not be adopted in the farmer's field. Now, so genotype specific management is very, very important. There are other decisions that what Dr. Anamika was telling, Lakshman was telling about the in-crop management, in-crop application of IPM, which is called tactical option. Now, all these 3 components, genotype, climate, and managed, the string or the thread belongs to the people. This people includes mainly the farmer. It's the farmer who will be using the variety, who will be applying the management, who will be managing the climate. So this component is very, very important for the IPM. I am sure that I was reading Dr. Muni's website, and he also emphasizes that the IPM component should include the people, the training, the skill development of the people, not only the farmers, but only all other stakeholders who are associated with uplifting lentil industry in Nepal. Now, what is happening? In the center, what we are talking about the production domain. In Nepal, we have two production domains. One is the Terai area in the lowland, other is in the upland area in the hills. Now, most of the lentil is produced here in the Terai lowlands, but also a significant about 30% area under the uphills. Now you can see here, Dr. Anamika was talking about the rotation and other things. You can see here, rice, lentil, fallow is the biggest, is the most important rotation being practiced traditionally by the farmers of Nepal. Okay, it's already there in the system. So we will have to, the production, and each of this production domain is different to the farmers, the area, the locations, the districts. We have to follow this one. One important thing the farmers do to manage the risk of lentil, that they do the mixed cropping. So they add other crops to the lentil, not as a sole crop, because when they fail the lentil crop, as it happened in 2019 in some areas, because of the heavy rains, and also probably last season as well. So the field specific production is very important. So two things happening here. One is the production domain specific to the region, specific to the fields. Another thing, the production domain within the field. That's what I will emphasize and will give you some example from Nepal. Now I say that we need to hit the yield productivity and also the labor productivity, whatever technology we apply, because we need profitability in the lentil industry in Nepal. So to gain the profitability, we have to hit yield productivity and labor productivity. Now on the top, when we are talking about a specific to production domain that addresses yield productivity between the fields. And the rate I put here, that is specific to the IPM that Dr. Anamika mentioned, especially the biotic stresses. I also added some agronomic issues which are related to pest management, and that we'll have to address within the field. It may be a bit new to you, but lentil, this is an example I'm showing here. This is Kailali and Kanchanpur area. This one is Bakke and Bardia districts. Now on the horizontal line, this is the yield variability, the yield we measured in 160 farmers field. So you can see that wide variation in yield between the fields in 4 locations. This is very common. But what is not common, that the vertical bar, you can see the variability in lentil yield within a plot, within a field. You have a piece of land, you can see the yield variation from one corner to another. And what we did, we sampled 5 locations in each field, in the center and around the 4 corners, okay? So this is the variability we observed. If we put the data here, and why this variability happens. So this is an example of the field. You can see this side of the field, the crop is very good. This side is not that good. So I can show dozens of pictures about that heterogeneity in the plant population and the condition of the plants is a big problem in Nepal for lentil. I give you a good example of that. So this is the yield of the 5 locations in each field, okay? So this is the This red line indicates the average yield of the fields. And this is very common because you can see in some fields, yield is very low, in some fields, yield is very low. Now, on the horizontal line shows the yield between the fields. So these are between the fields. But in the vertical line, you can see the difference between two blue lines. So this is the yield variation we observed in 2 seasons in Nepal, 2017, 2018, and 18 and 19. This is a huge variation. And for example, you don't need to do anything. So consider the average yield of these plots or the fields were 1.07 ton per hectare. So if you can achieve, this is you see already see in the field, okay? If you go here, you can go here. If you achieve this one, your yield will go up to 1.3 ton, 8 ton per hectare, which is about 30% increase. If you have a bad luck, if it goes down here, and the yield will be 1.0, yield will be 0.87. So this is a mistake here. So that will be 28% yield decrease. So this framework we develop, what we try to do, we try to take this red line into this blue line so that this is doable, dear friends, because you see this one already in the field. You reduce the variability. So IPM should address how can we reduce this variability and increase the yield from here to here. Now, what other things we saw?
Mine only 3 minutes left, please.
Yeah, I'll go first. So what other things we saw in Nepal, that at the start of the season, they expect some yield. But in the end of the season, they don't do that. Some farmers do good, some farmers don't do good. So this concept should be included in the IPM package, the causalities between the yield gain and yield loss in the season. The other thing I will be highlighting that I showed the yield productivity and the concept of IPM should go from general to specific. With due respect, Dr. Anamika gave a very good description of the IPM and its components. But when you do the practicality, it should come specific to the field, not even the region. This is a good information, good review of literature for the practical purposes. This is the farmer. Take example me, who will be taking care of my field, not other people's field. So it should be from general to specific to the situation. Now, what I propose that you map the general risk of the pests and diseases of the lentil production domains in the districts. Draw a diagram incorporating adoptable, I repeat, adoptable IPM components and sub-components for Nepalese farmers, Nepalese condition only. Say, for example, you mentioned about the neem. This is very good, but you cannot buy the neem pellets from the shops. And you can think about if all the farmers in Nepal use this one, there will be no neem tree in Nepal. So must be practical, must be adoptable, must be available to the farmers to make this IPM package work. So as you also mentioned that you assess the specific risk based on the history for any particular pest and diseases. We've got many pests and diseases, but which one is the prime important? And then go for a strategic decision, pre-season decision of land selection, the variety, the sowing time, deep plowing, whatever, the seed treatment. But remember please, no contradiction with the framework because you cannot sacrifice the yield. Remember, whatever the variety using, one variety could be resistant or tolerant, but that may not be the good yielder. So you cannot recommend that one as a recipe for the solution. So you will have to compromise all these things. The other thing is the in-crop option that Lakshman told about the scouting. Also, Dr. Anamika mentioned, assess the risk, especially whether you go for chemical option or not. You have to explore that one. As Lakshman also mentioned, for leaf diseases, early detection is very important to decide on fungicide options. I also propose that you make a list because the pests and diseases in which crop stress they are vulnerable to. Identification is very important and very confusing. So if you can list this one, the risk of the pests and diseases over the time, according to the crop growth stage, that will be helpful. One thing Lakshman mentioned little bit about the early warning system. That's what we are working in Nepal for the last three years. That if you know the movements of the agents, and you can predict the movement of the agents, that will be very, very useful to the farmers and management. Taking the stem phylum blight is an example. We have developed a forecasting system. We calibrated the model. The model is based on the weather. So that is very easy to incorporate. And we validated about 160 farmers field in Nepal. We first used that farmers field for calibration of the model. Then we validated model. The model gave very good example. You know, it's a huge power to show the effect of time of sowing on the disease, the effect of flowering time of the disease. This is an example of Bake and Kailali, and also showed that, okay, sowing date is a prime important, considering to timing of 50% flowering, or this is the season, year to year variation. And what we did, that as Lakshman mentioned, that 3 chemical application, calendar based, okay, is very useful to control the stem phylum blight. But we developed model based application. You can see these figures that this is as good as calendar based application. Here we do 3 applications, but for the model based application, the number of fungicide application frequency is reduced almost by half, even less. So what we found, that if you go for a calendar based application, you gain, for example, $1 per hectare. But if you go for model based application, you gain about $1.7 per hectare. So it's a huge gain, environmentally good, because you are reducing the number of chemical application. To sum up, the prosperity of Nepal's lentil industry is fading away, unfortunately, and turning into an aging industry. It's aging industry. This is a threat to Nepal, not for its agriculture, but you know that lentil is a part of Nepal's culture. To turn back to prosperity, we need a major surgery in the industry. Lentil is becoming a risky crop in Nepal. That's the big important. So we got to make it profitable and competitive. Any IPM package should ideally be fitted into the framework for uplifting and sustaining lentil production. The IPM package should be production domain specific and, remember, field specific, not just a general description, and it should be crop stage based. IPM package should be incorporating adoptable IPM components and subcomponents, specific to Nepal, specific to environment, specific to Nepalese farmers. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Moin, for a very nice deliberation and presentation. I hope your presentation is very interesting to all of our audiences for joining the today webinar. And with this, I think we are moving behind the time. And after this presentation, may I request Dr. Hari Kumar Shrestha for your presentation. And actually, Dr. Hari Kumar Shrestha is the system officer for and working for the USAID Feed the Future Nepal Seed and Fertilizer Project. And we have a very strong collaboration with the Nepal Seed and Fertilizer, and especially with Dr. Hari Kumar Shrestha. And with this, may I request Dr. Hari Kumar Shrestha to have your deliberation for the webinar. Over to you, Dr. Hari Shrestha, sir.
Could you please close the slide? Then I'll
Okay.
just...
Dr. Moin, okay, yeah.
So
could you
could
make it
you
in the full mode, Hari sir? Okay, thank you. Yeah, you can
see
proceed.
my slide? Okay, let me.
And I will also request Hari sir to have your presentation within the given time. Try to finish your presentation.
Good morning.
Yes, so that
Good
we can
morning
have
all.
some interaction as well.
Namaste. Good morning all. Namaste, and then welcome to my presentation. I'm Hari Kumar Shrestha, working as a seed system officer at Nepal Seed and Fertilizer Project of CEMIT. And then my presentation topic is like NSAP intervention in promoting stress-tolerant varieties and yield enhancing lentil technologies in Nepal. And then I'll be focusing on these mainly 6 areas, overview of like a short overview of project, and then partners and major achievements, and major problems in lentil, demo and seed production, and lentil IPM practices adapted by NSAP partners, and challenges and lessons learned. And if you talk about this NSAP is like a USAID funded project implemented by CEMIT with its public and private partners. The main aim of this project is to build competitive and synergistic seed and fertilizer value chain for inclusive and sustainable growth in agricultural productivity, economic welfare, and household level food security in Nepal. This project covers 26 districts, 21 in FTF zone of influence, and then 5 districts under Bagmati province, especially these earthquake affected districts. This project was initiated like in April 2016, which covers 6 crops: maize, rice, lentil, cauliflower, tomato, and onion. And it is aligned with the government of Nepal like ADS and National Seed Vision 2013-25. And if we talk about this, our public-private partners, National Grain Legume Research Program, NARC, is the main lead organization for this lentil. This is public organization. And then there are other like 8 seed company partners from private side, and then 3 cooperatives. And there are other cost centers also from NARC. And then if you look at this figure, and then this is NSAP partners in lentil and other like major roles. And this is NSAP in the middle with a blue color, and it has playing a central role for and then for this sector, lentil sector. And it has a national grain legume program, like a program, and seed companies, and then seed companies and cooperatives. Especially for the national grain legume program, it provides some technical backstopping and financial support, as well as material support, especially importing this germplasm, importing from international hub, and provide national grain legume research program for their research and study to develop their new varieties. And especially national grain legume program, like they do research and development activities for releasing and registration of new varieties, and then production of breeder seed and foundation seed, and provide technology support to our partner companies and cooperatives. And then seed company like NSAP also provides like support to seed companies and cooperatives, especially for their research and development and their capacity development in like seed production and seed marketing, seed promotional activities, and other seed related activities. And when seed companies or cooperative, they produce seed in collaboration with the seed producer, especially they produce foundation seed, certified seed, improved seed, and then they provide technical support to seed producer and grain producer also. When they produce like a improved seed, the last level of seed, and the majority of seed goes through agrovet cooperatives to grain seed producer, and then some part of seed goes directly from seed companies or cooperatives to grain producer. This is the major like system. And then we also import, I already mentioned that we also import like germplasm from international hubs for maize, lentil, and vegetables. For lentil, we have imported like 11, there is 11 germplasm from Ethiopia, and National Grain Legume Program, they have already tested like a screen this introduced material in their field. And then whatever the select like a best plants, they just put this kind of red mark for the selection. And in addition to this, and we also carry out like a varietal demonstration to promote the new and like a promising lines of like nationally developed varieties, especially to promote these varieties to the farmers' field conditions, so that farmers after observing in the field condition, they can easily grasp, they can easily adapt it. If you look at this diagram, this is grain yield of lentil genotype under various domestics like a demo during winter 18. And in total, there are 67 environments we tested it. And then there were like 6 partner companies. And especially if you look at this, there are 3 varieties, 2 varieties are like our demo varieties, and one is a local check. Local check is which is very popular in their locality, and we compare our varieties with the local check. And if you look at this diagram, the yield of our black mushroom is 1.46 metric ton in comparison to local check. It is higher, both varieties has higher yield, but this is like genotypically, this is non-significant. It means like a varieties, the genotypically it is almost same, but G by E, this is significant difference, means like environmental condition that has been affecting the yield. So this yield difference might be due to G by E. And I'm not going to describe in detail about this, just I would like to highlight what are the major varieties in particular domain after our intervention, means after our varietal demonstration. In Kailali, this is black mushroom has given the highest yield, and then in case of like Kanchanpur also black mushroom is the top one variety. And in Bake, this black mushroom and Khajura 3, it has they have almost the same yield, and then Khajura 3 in Bardia. And in case of like Dan, this Khajura mushroom 3 has highest yield, but because of drought condition, the yield is quite low in comparison to other locations, other districts. And in this case, like we carried out this kind of varietal demonstration in Kapilvastu, Palpa, and Rupandei. In all like locations, and then Kalo mushroom were found to be the best varieties among other varieties. And we also carried out like a farmers field day, about 10% of the demonstration, especially this varietal demonstration and then seed production demonstration, we carry out 10% in 10%. And we just invite them, and then we just we give orientation, and then we provide them a format. If you look at this format below, and we would provide them this format, and there are some ranking parameters: yield, disease resistance, insect infestation, plant vigor, grain size, color, maturity, and then overall performance and average scoring based on their performance. And we compile this data, and then we just score, and then based on this their like performance, black mushroom was found to be the best in Kailali condition, like unique sheet conducted this kind of. And grain of lentil in 2019 also we carried out, but because of heavy rain, we know it, and then the yield was very low. Still, Khajura mushroom 3 was found to be the best variety in 2019. And we also carried out seed production demonstration, especially in this case, we promote our best management practices. We compare these practices with farmers' practices. This BMP is like a government approved technologies, and then we just compare these 2 varieties, like 2 technologies using single varieties. And in this case, like we carried out this BMP versus like farmers' practices, and in each cases, BMP produced the highest yield than the farmers' practices. And lentil seed production data also, we also recorded some data from our like partner seed companies, and then national grain legume, like national grain legume as well as cost centers. This is the yield of yield and production and supply in 2018, 110 like kg, and the supply was 1995. In 2019, it was a little bit higher, more than this 984 like kg. And supply was the same. And then in this year, the production was drastically reduced. It was around 100 kg. It was compiled based on their review meeting. And if you look at this below diagram, and then yield in the like the production in the beginning, like 16, 17, and 18, it was a little bit higher than now. Since 2019, now it was drastically reduced. It was because of like heavy rain. We already know about it. And then we also use some kind of market promotional activities like farmers level meeting, traders level meeting, some kind of jingles, radio jingles, and some like awarding program. So if you look at this diagram figure, this is awarding program. These are kind of activities to promote our new varieties. Especially this is carried out by our seed company partners and cooperatives. And we also, our partner companies, and we also just train people like in total, during like 18 and 20s, 834 people were trained, duplication was omitted from this part. And if you look at this diagram, male and female participation was 49% and male was 51%. If organization-wise producer, especially farmers, were the number of higher than other, and similarly following by a civil society, private sector and government sector. If you talk about this caste and ethnicity, Janajati, they were in the top position and followed by Brahman, Kshatri, Muslim, Dalit, Newar and others. And especially during this training participant, training, we provide them seed production and then such management IPM practices also. We provide them, this is a farmer's field. We invite people from their surrounding areas, as I mentioned, and we provide them orientation. And then after that, we visit them in the field and then we provide them the format and they rate, they evaluate the varieties. And this is trainings. And then we also invite our grain legume programs expert when we face some kind of problem in the field. This is in Kailali areas. And we last time in 2018, we had a problem of different diseases and we invited pathologists. And then after that, we oriented people in the field also. And then sometimes we provided machinery tools for this efficiency, increase their efficiency and meetings like this. And then major problems encountered by our seed partners in demo and seed productions are in diseases, stem phylum, root rot, and fusarium wilt. You know all these things, so I would not like to highlight about it in detail. Already mentioned previous speakers. And wheat is also major challenging, especially in seed production field. If they don't use the quality seed, and they will face the problem of a lot of diseases like insect, weeds. This is, and then VCF fever is the designated disease. We should not, we have to omit this weeds from the seed production field. And drought is also a major problem, especially in Dang areas at this time. And winter rain, we know all, because previous speakers have also spoken the same thing in Nepal. And another important part is imbalanced use of fertilizer. We did a BBS in 2017 based on our observation, our the recommended application of fertilizer or FOM was 5 tons per hectare, NPK 20-20-20, but in reality they use 15.8 metric ton FOM, nitrogen 6 kg, phosphorus 5 kg, and no any potash. So there is a big gap in supplying this kind of fertilizer. If you look at this yellow line, you can easily identify what's the differences. And IPM practices adopted by ANSAP and seed partners for lentil disease and insect pest, especially we already got from the previous speakers, this selection of resistance variety is very critical and crucial. And we just adopt some kind of published documents also. We just refer those documents. And then there are some varieties in Nepal also, root resistance varieties, Sital, Maheshwari, Bharati, wilt resistance, Simal, Shikhar. These are the varieties, and stem phylum also. There are Shikhar, Simal, Maheshwari, Bharati, and Shagun. And then we use this kind of variety. And then for the varietal, this identification, and then there are digital enabled seed information system also we have developed in SQCC has developed this kind of system, and then we have been supporting them to develop this kind of system. And then if you go through this a link, and then there is a link, and then there is a lentil, legumes, and inside legume we can choose a lentil, and inside lentil there are different varieties. If you go click on the particular lentil, and then you can get the varietal characteristics and then their disease and insect resistance, resistance power, and we can choose those varieties. And use of quality seed, especially for quality seed, they have to fulfill field standard and laboratory standard. Only that those seeds which fulfill this standard, and then they will be certified, and then only we can use those seeds for seed production as well as grain production. These are the tags used in seed production system, like seed certification system. Especially in seed certification, this is like a breeder seed, and then foundation seed certified, and then yellow tag is improved seed. And then for tag, especially for truthful labeling, the breeder seed tag is common, and then foundation seed, and then this is store seed, label seed, and improved seed. This is the classes of seed in both seed certification and then truthful labeling. We use this, we check this truthful, a label first, and then if they have label, and then that means that is certified seeds, so we can use seeds. And then for the crop rotation, like already mentioned, that lentil, fallow, and lentil, maize, rice. This is especially in Terai region. After lentil, we promote spring maize, and then rice. This is rice. We promote this kind of, so that we can minimize the infestation of like insects, diseases. And then crop and field management, especially early planting, and then line sowing. Reduce seed rate from 40 kg to 30 kg. We have already reduced, and then yield is quite good. There is no any problem. So it will minimize the dense planting, as well as insect and disease infestation also. And purple weeding, we do purple weeding, and then we recommend like cultivation on sandy as well as upland condition also. And especially our partners, they also use like pesticides like mancozeb, and then carbendazim. Carbendazim is not under USAID pursuit, but they have been using it, and some biological like biochemicals also. And lessons like challenges and lesson what we learned during this project period is like our seed marketing is a major problem facing by our local companies and cooperatives. And there are some unpredictable weather which has been affecting yield, and the lack of climate resilience varieties and germplasm also, that has been also affecting yield, and biotic and abiotic stresses also. And then enhance that we have to enhance linkage among value chain actors, because from like research and development to seed users, there are a lot of like 5 level of like value chain actors. We have to enhance the linkage among them. Line sowing and weeding, we have been promoting this for the higher like increasing yield, and use of quality seed I have already mentioned, and you have use of seed information system. Still, there is like it is among the orphan crop, because most of the farmers they have been neglected this crop. They sow the seed harvesting. That is also a major challenge to just for the yield increment. That's all, and I would like to acknowledge MILD, SQCC, PQMC, MOLMAC, AKCDAD, local governments, National Grain Review Program, and NARC cost centers, and then seed companies, cooperative partners, AFUs, another institute, and Kisan 2, ID Nepal, CIMIT, ANSAP, and CISA team, and then ICARDA, Millers, and USAID. Thank you very much. That's all from my side. If any questions, I'll try my best to reply you. Thank you very much. Back to you, Lalit sir.
Thank you, Dr. Hari sir, for your very good and nice deliberation for this webinar, and also your time and effort for this webinar. And I think we are moving behind the 10 minutes of the allocated time. And I think if all of our audience is okay for proceeding 15 to 20 minutes more time, I think we'll proceed with some few questions by respective speaker, or if not, maybe I'll request Dr. Muni for any, if there are any technical or any your remarks before the closing session to have from you, Dr. Muni. If not, maybe I think we'll proceed for the closing session. Yeah.
A couple of questions, or it is getting too late?
Okay. I think there are some of the couple of the questions that came up in the chat box, and some of our speakers, they have already responded. And if not, maybe we'll take 5 minutes, just direct through the audio, and we'll respond accordingly. If not, we'll proceed for the closing session.
Yeah, that'll be good. It is about 12:15 at night for me.
Okay. I think, sorry, Dr. Muni, so sorry for the late night. Maybe I think it will be better to have the closing session rather than having some further question. And with this, I think with your concern and the concern from all our audiences, we are going to have the closing session for the today webinar. And with this, I think if there is our grain legumes research program chief, Dr. Rajendra Darai is here. If not, may I request Dr. Rajendra Rai to have your remarks? I think he's not here. Okay. And with this, I think we are going to have the closing session, and I will request our PKPMC chief on behalf of the organizer to have the closing remarks and other few words from the government side. And I saw some of the message as well. And with your remarks, it will be great to have your response on some of the queries from our audiences. And I will request our PKPMC chief Sadev Humagai sir for your time, for your whole time, to have the closing remarks and also your few guidelines and suggestions for the upcoming webinar as well.
Thank you, Lalitji, for coordinating and hosting this important webinar. On the behalf of organizer of this important events, I would like to thank all the presentators, Dr. Muni, Dr. Anamika Sarma, Dr. Lakshman Aryal, Dr. Moin Salam, Dr. Hajikumar Shrestha for their valuable time and insight presentations on the subjects. I think we are a little bit late. Now I'm still in my home and I have to go in the office. That's why I will not take much more time to close this webinar. And again, I would like to thank our country director, Kuri Ohara, for his welcome remarks. As well as to Dr. Muni for coordinating to organize this webinar, and his continuous efforts to organize this webinar is highly important for us. And with these 4 presentations, I hope our participants will get much more knowledge on the IPM on lentil, and also we learn a lot about the lentil from productivity to how to enhance our productivity in Nepal, and the whole IPM packages. How can we apply IPM packages in the lentil fields? And how can we educate our farmers, lentil grower farmers, about the IPM practices, IPM packages? And this is a very crucial things for us. And our role, the different institutions who are working on the lentil program and the relevant organizations and their roles and responsibility from this presentation also clearly shows that we all should involve according to the these presentations, and our concerned institutions. They are also they should also manage their activity accordingly. In the last, not the least, again, I would like to thank our friends, Mr. Lalit Saha. He is continuously working on this to organize this series of webinars. Dr. Muni already mentioned, we already completed 6 webinars on different subjects, and they all are very important for the Nepalese farmers, for the Nepalese technicians, as well as the abroad farmers and abroad technicians. And I would like to close this webinar for today. And again, I would like to inform to all our participants, if you have any queries regarding the another webinars, in which subjects you are interested to have a new webinar, please write to us. You can write to PQPMC as well as ID Nepal, as well as our Yansaf as well, and we'll try our best to organize another webinar in the requested subjects. And again, I would like to thank all the participants who are actively participated in this webinar as well as previous webinars. I would like to thank to all the organizer committee, organizer institutions, organizations to conduct this webinar. Thank you, Lalitji. Over to you.
Humagai sir, and for your encouraging words and always your backstopping support on organizing different kinds of webinar, and really I appreciate and I feel very encouraged from all of your team, and as well as even as you have mentioned, if there is anything, please feel free to contact us from all our audiences. And great, and thank you everyone, and we appreciate you all for joining the today's webinar. And also, I think with this, I would like to thank all our invited speaker from USA and Bangladesh, and especially we're also more thankful to Dr. Muni, who is one of the great leader for organizing all the webinar and also encouraging us for the conducting this such kinds of webinar as well. And we look forward for your support as always we did. And please feel free to contact us if there is any queries on that. And thank you again for joining today, and we'll see next time. Bye bye.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you
bye.
all, and bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Good night,
you.
Dr. Muni.
Bye.
Bye.
Namaskar.
Namaste.